So after posting my last video on where I've been, I realized I really didn't touch on the one thing that kind of shifted in my business. Because the truth is, I really didn't just take a break from YouTube. I also had to take a hard look at the life that I built as a salon owner and see if that's really where I wanted to be at. And that was a really hard realization because I worked really hard to build that business. And I know a lot of hairstylists dream of becoming a salon owner one day. So I want to talk honestly about the good parts and all of the things in between that a lot of people just don't like talking about. When you're a hairstylist, I think at some point you start thinking about what is that next step, and for a lot of people that is salon ownership. You imagine creating your own environment, your own culture, you imagine mentoring hairstylists and growing a team that grows together. And for a long time that was my dream too, and I built a salon that I'm really proud of. We had an amazing team, incredible clients, and a really comfortable, vibrant, pink space to work out of. Watching other hairstylists grow inside of this space that I curated really just kind of made my heart so happy, and it was really fun watching everybody grow into the stylist they really wanted to become. There is something really special about creating opportunities for other people, and for that moment in time, I definitely was aligned in the salon ownership role. But here's where reality starts to look a lot different than the dream. Most people think that salon ownership is the aesthetics. It's the chairs, the station, the mirrors, what products you're gonna put on your shelves, the branding, the Instagram photos, the overall vibe. But after owning this hair salon for 8 years, I can honestly say that is the easy part. The real work of owning a hair salon is the people, and people are complicated. One thing that really surprised me about salon ownership was the emotional labor that comes with owning a salon and just owning really any business. When you decide to own a salon, you are not just doing hair anymore. As a matter of fact, you're gonna be doing a lot less of it. And for some of you that might sound super appealing, but let me get into the nitty-gritty of exactly what being a salon owner entails. You become the manager, the problem solver, the therapist, sometimes a mediator, and that mediator can be between other hairstylists, or it can also be between hairstylist and client. You become the person that everyone goes to when something goes wrong. And the reality is you care about the people on your team. You want them to grow. You want them to succeed. Most salon owners want the culture to feel supportive and collaborative and positive. We all want to have an amazing time when we come to work. But carrying that emotional responsibility for multiple people in a salon space, especially hairstylists and girls, it can be a lot. And especially so if you're someone who genuinely cares about helping and growing people. I think the bottom line is a lot of people come with different personalities, we have different characteristics, we have different ideas of what collaboration looks like, and just overall salon life. It's really easy to blur the lines between professionalism and friendship, colleague, and clients. I mean, this just goes down a really deep rabbit hole of emotions and feelings that we sometimes lose the sight of the business. And sometimes as a salon owner, you got to reel everybody back in to see what the big picture is. And we're all here in a salon to make money. I can't tell you how many times in the 8 years that I've owned this business, I've had people crying in my office. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they broke up with their boyfriend or husband. I mean, and on top of that, you're dealing with the emotional labor of your clients. So it can be really heavy some days, and you need to be able to manage all of these emotions without bringing your own personal things into the business. This is why I always say leave your personal shit at the front door. Like, do not bring it into the salon. But it's easier said than done for most hairstylists. Everybody's just complicated, everybody's different, and you need to know how to manage it. Something I do want to add is that my salon was an employee-based hair salon. So it's very common for the salon owner to be heavily involved in the employee's salon growth and also just managing the team. But that's not to say that if you are a booth rental hair salon owner, a lot of these things still carry the weight into your role as a salon owner. It's not just collecting rent and a paycheck and doing hair for funsies during the day. There's just so much more that's involved. And believe it or not, you still can be involved in the client stylist relationship because they are a hairstylist that still works within the four walls, even if they're a booth renter. And a lot of times for customers, it's really hard to grasp that concept of like, hey, I'm hands off, I'm just the salon owner, the beef that you have going on, you got to talk to the stylist that did your hair. Not to mention the Yelp reviews that could potentially come from that. So just because you're a booth rental salon owner doesn't mean you're totally hands off. Which brings me to the next thing that really surprised me about salon ownership is you are always going to need to hire people. I think the hardest part is just finding the right people to put in the right position. And even if it's booth rental, you still want the right person that's going to collab with your team, a good person that's going to mesh well with the culture that you've created. Believe it or not, the hardest part is finding a stylist that wants to work really hard, be consistent, take in all of the constructive criticism that you give them so that they can build a thriving business. I think finding someone that wants to build something meaningful with you and your culture and your salon business. And sometimes you see the potential in a lot of people that they don't even see in themselves. And the exhausting part is you're investing a lot of your time, you're mentoring them, you're spending the time teaching them. You help them grow their skills, their confidence, their social media, their clientele. But the hard truth is, you can't make somebody want it. You can't make someone see their own potential in what they're capable of doing. And that can be super frustrating as a leader, as a salon owner, because there's gonna be times where you care way more about their growth than they do. There was a time when our salon had an assistant program and also a junior artist program. So these were people that were either fresh out of cosmetology school, or maybe they had about a year of experience. Maybe they worked at Supercuts or Ulta or something like that. But what I loved about this assistant program and junior artist program is it really gave us some insight to what type of work ethic a lot of these hairstylists were gonna have. But more importantly than just the work ethic, it was the emotional maturity that I was really looking for. Because to me, if you can come into work and you can do the best job that you can try to do, and you're coachable and you take the constructive criticism without feeling personally attacked, that was like the golden employee for me. I can't tell you how many times that we've given constructive criticism to a hairstylist and sometimes they just take it so personally. We need to take the personal out of our work, but this is a really hard job to do that because we are putting our art on somebody's head. And if somebody's like, I don't really like this haircut, or I don't really like my highlights, unfortunately we do take it personal. It's a really kind of a gray zone to get people to get out of their heads that this is just a space of learning and how can we get better from this. When you have a team, you're constantly managing different personalities. Some people want to build a serious career, some people want flexibility, and then there's gonna be some people who are just kind of figuring it out, and that's simply okay. And as a salon owner, you're just trying to make sure that you're putting the right people in the right positions. I think that's probably one of the hardest parts. You're just trying to create an environment where everybody can thrive and succeed. But sometimes the reality is that not everybody wants that level of growth. They're not seeing the growth that you want them to have. And that's okay because everybody's on their own path, their own journey, on their own time. But that can create some challenges for your salon business and the growth that you're expecting out of it. Because when people aren't aligned with what you're trying to do, that means they're not aligned with the culture, and that can create a lot of chaos in your space. For example, I made one of the worst decisions ever in my business by putting somebody that didn't deserve to be in that position at all, and that was my artistic education manager. I brought in this person because I thought that they were qualified enough because they had education experience, but they did not have management experience, and those are two completely different things. Having this education manager in a position that they just simply weren't ready for cost me almost my business. This person was highly unprofessional, created relationships with people with inside of my business, which then created a lot of chaos and conflict between each other. Cliques formed. Lo and behold, I had to fire somebody. Ultimately, my culture completely shifted, so this is exactly why I had to reframe my entire business. So making sure that you just hire the right people that are in line with your culture and knowing that you need to manage a team of different personalities and really be on top of what's happening in your business is going to be key as a salon owner, so that way you can be open for years and years to come. Which then brings me to the hard decisions that you need to make in your business, because let me tell you, you are not going to make everybody happy. And if you are a salon owner that thrives to make everybody happy, you're just simply not a good salon owner. It's impossible to make everybody happy and keep your business growing and thriving. I think the hardest part of owning a salon is the hard decisions that you have to make, because ultimately, regardless of how people are feeling or what's happening in people's lives, you have to put the business first, because you're the one that invested all of the time, resources, and money, and you signed that 5 to 7 year lease to keep it open. So in order for you to do that, you got to put it first. Sometimes you have to let go of people. Maybe it looks like demoting people, maybe realigning something in the business, maybe not allowing them to have a certain day off because the business needs people on a specific day. Or sometimes it just means cutting hours because the business just can't survive that week. Maybe it means cutting supplies in certain areas just so we can feel a little uncomfortable for just a tiny bit, because there might be something out of stock at the distributor store. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong. Overall, it's just finding people that are going to be flexible with the highs and lows that come with running the business. But I think the most important part is protecting your salon culture. Having people come into your business and then trying to change what you've built is just the wrong way to go. The moment that you allow people to shift what you've built and the culture and the vibe that you want to build in your salon is the moment that you lose control of everything. I also think the thing that most people don't talk about is that being a salon owner means that sometimes when you are giving that constructive criticism, you're giving that mentorship and that coaching because you know that they need to do something in order for them to thrive and make the income that is aligned with their goals and also with the salon goals, they might take it personally. I think what a lot of people don't talk about is that a lot of these tough business decisions come with people taking your decisions personally. This is literally why we see people quiet quitting, doing salon walkouts, or trying to find another salon down the street, or maybe they're ready to go into a salon suite down the street. I've seen a lot of erratic decision making in the salon space. The crazy part about building a team is that you really do care about them so much, because you've put in the time and you've put in the resources, the mentorship, helping them elevate their skills and giving them all the tools that's needed in order to build a sustainable business. Like, you invest in them so hard, but at the end of the day, you have to protect the business, because that's truly what matters first before anything else. And I think that is the hard balance that a lot of salon owners struggle with. And because of that, it can weigh on you emotionally at the end of the day. Okay, so let's talk about the business side, okay? Because you're not just doing hair anymore. Those days are like far and few between. And if you're doing a lot of hair and not working on your business as a salon owner, you are severely failing it. This is the biggest shift that a lot of salon owners need to put their time into. It is just working on the business. And here's what I'm talking about. It's the marketing, it's the social media, it's the branding, it's growing a customer base, managing finances, payroll, taxes, and navigating laws. Not to mention, you gotta keep up with the State Board of Cosmetology for establishments. That is totally separate from the regular ones that a hairstylist needs to worry about. Now, I know I mentioned this on my last video, but I run a business in California, which makes it sometimes a lot more difficult to run a business with employees. This is why I think a lot of salon owners in California like to stick with booth rent. I also think this is why we're in the hub of suites and solo suites and Phoenix suites. I mean, there's all kinds of suites. There's independent suites. Everybody's got a suite. And if you have an employee-based hair salon, there are some tough regulations and laws that you really need to pay attention to in this state. I think a lot of people just don't realize that when you go into salon ownership, you're spending a lot more time on the business than you are doing the creative work that a lot of us came into this industry loving. So if you find yourself loving doing hair, you love the creative work, maybe just kind of stick to that, because I don't really think that going into a salon ownership role is really for everybody. I mean, there are just so much that you will learn. If you ask any salon owner what advice you'd have for them, a lot of them will tell you don't do it. That's the first thing that comes out of a lot of people's mouths. And I heard it too. I did. And I was like, oh no, it's going to be different for me. I got this. I know exactly what hairstylists want. And I promise you, the moment you become a salon owner, a business owner, you become the person that not everybody loves. So yeah, I've been doing this for 8 years. It's going to be almost 8.5 years pretty soon of owning this salon. I have survived 3 pivotal moments in this 8.5 years, and the first one was opening up this space with just 3 people, and one of them being me, 8 months pregnant, about to pop out a baby. Okay, so I opened up a 12-chair hair salon with 3 people and me on the way to the delivery room. The second time was the pandemic. I had to shut down 3 times here in California. Now, obviously that was super devastating for us to have to shut down our doors with no real answers from our government and what we were able to do. But the main thing that helped me survive was shifting and heading to TikTok and doing virtual consultations and selling color kits. Hate me all you want. I know a lot of hairstylists came for me during that time, but I had to do what I had to do in order to keep my doors open because no one was coming to save me. And I don't regret it. I don't regret selling professional hair color to consumers in New York, Florida, Washington. I had a ton of nurses that came to me looking for a consultation so they could touch up their roots because salons were closed everywhere. I was one of the few salons providing a solution to their problem. And I get it, we were in the middle of a pandemic, the world was ending at that time. We all got it, we're okay. But more importantly, my business survived during that time. I did lose a lot of stylists also to individual suites because we kind of didn't know what was going on with COVID. And I also lost a lot of hairstylists because people moved out of the state. I mean, we had one of the most toughest regulations in the entire country when it came to COVID. So I could see why a lot of hairstylists were like, I'm bouncing out of here. So I lost half of my team during that 2020 shutdown, but I rebuilt. That was an amazing time. We had probably over 20 hairstylists once I rebuilt that second time. And the third time I had to rebuild was when I had my horrible education manager hire and completely shifted the culture in my business. I didn't have the reins tied to my business. I was just kind of focusing on my social media, my education space, my YouTube, and I put in 3 managers in place to oversee everything, and then just shit hit the fan. Ultimately, I had to fire a lot of people, and ultimately a lot of people walked out of the salon. So yeah, you got to be flexible and be able to roll with the punches and get creative and know what your next step is going to be no matter what life throws at you. So when I say that I'm super proud of the salon that I built, I am super proud because the fact that we survived those 3 pivotal things in such a short amount of time is insane. And we're still here, still thriving, and I have an amazing team that's here now. But this brings me to the moment that everything just kind of shifted for me and why I kind of brought it up in my last video and why I wanted everyone to be booth rent. What made all of this really confusing is the fact that the salon, after going through all of those things, is that it was still really successful. It's still growing, it's still thriving, and I do have an amazing team here. We have amazing stylists, we have amazing clients who have stuck with us throughout all of that. And most importantly, the business is profitable. From the outside, everything looks really great, but for me, what's going on internally with salon ownership is just kind of shifting. Like I mentioned, the thing that made me stop, pause, and just reevaluate my life as a salon owner was when my husband asked me if I could let go of something, what would it be? And my immediate answer was a salon. Didn't even hesitate. And that just completely shocked me because I worked so effing hard for what is inside of this space. I grew this. I built this. and it has survived over 8 years. But I think for my own sanity, just walking you through all of the things that salon owners really just don't talk about, that's ultimately why I shifted it into a booth rent salon. I just did not want the responsibility of having to fully manage all of the personalities and things that come with salon ownership. I wanted to remove my responsibility from a lot of the marketing and the coaching and just helping them grow and see what their potential was. I just don't think I had the mental capacity to continue on the path that I was on. And like I mentioned in my last video, I was prepared for some people to leave, but to my surprise, everybody did stay. And I even gave them the option that if they wanted to go to another salon to work at, that I would help them with their clients in the transition, because ultimately, I'm not looking to build a clientele. I wasn't looking to keep their clients. I really wanted to maintain the relationship that I've built with each of these stylists that have worked with me. But everybody stayed, and the transition has been nothing but positive. So this process has really made me reevaluate what I truly love and what I don't love. It made me realize that my biggest passion is not managing or owning a salon. I love helping hairstylists grow. I love educating. I love mentoring. I like creating resources like Airbnb University, the app. But one thing I really do want to drive home is that outgrowing something does not mean failure. I think sometimes we hold on to things because we worked so hard and invested so much time and so much resources because we built them. And walking away or changing the structure can feel like failure. But what I've realized is that outgrowing this doesn't mean failure. It just means that I've evolved and I'm ready for the next step. That part and season of my life has served its purpose. I am incredibly proud of what I've built in the salon, and that chapter accomplished exactly what it was supposed to do. And now I'm just ready for the next thing to conquer. One of the things that I realized during this season is that I've outgrown this media room and this space. This is where I record all of my tutorials, all of my YouTubes, everything that people have seen on Airbnb. This is where the magic happens. This is where I started my hair extension brand. I mean, everything that I have built was in this room. But this room does not support the vision for what I want to do next. So right now I'm exploring what my new creative space is going to be like, and I'm excited to share that journey with you. So if you're a hairstylist or salon owner who feels like they've outgrown something that they've worked really hard to build, I'd love to hear your story. Tell me all about it down below, because I think this happens to a lot more people than what we talk about. And sometimes growth looks like letting go of one chapter so we can start another. See you in the next video.